Solve x squared over x minus 5 less than or equal to 16x over x minus 5. Answer in interval notation. So I'm going to start here by moving all the terms to the left-hand side. So I'm going to have x squared over x minus 5 minus 16x over x minus 5 is less than or equal to 0. Because we have a common denominator, we can put this on a common division line. It's going to be x squared minus 16x over x minus 5 is less than or equal to 0. There's an x missing here. I can factor out the greatest common factor x in the numerator, which will give me x times x minus 16 x minus 5 less than or equal to 0. So at this point I can find the critical values. So that will be the values for which the left-hand side, this rational expression, equals to 0. So the critical values are when f of x equals to 0, and that's going to happen when the numerator equals to 0, which is going to happen when x equals to 0 or when x equals to positive 16. Now, because this is a rational expression, the denominator, we have the variable in the denominator, and there will be a non-permissible value here. So there's going to be f of x will not have a solution when x equals to 5, because 5 is a non-permissible value, NPV, which would cause the denominator to be 0, and that's not allowed. So to visualize our solution here, we're going to use a number line. We're going to be putting in our three critical points. We have 0, 5, and 16. We are including 0 and 16 because the left-hand side is supposed to be less than or equal to 0. So we're going to put a solid dot right there. We are including 16 as well, but we cannot include 5 because it's a non-permissible value. So now let's evaluate the three components of this rational expression. So that's going to be this monomial, the sign of this monomial in these four different regions, the sign of this binomial in these four different regions, and the sign of this binomial denominator in those four different regions. Okay. When x is less than 0, the monomial will be negative. The binomial x minus 16 will also be negative, and the denominator will also be negative. And this negative times negative is positive, divided by negative will result in negative. So this expression will be having a negative value when x is less than 0. When x is between 0 and 5, but not including 5, the monomial will be positive, x minus 16 will be negative, and x minus 5 will be negative as well, which means that the entire rational expression will be positive. When we're between 5 and 16, not including 5, the monomial will be positive, x minus 16 will be negative, and x minus 5, the denominator, will be positive, which means we're going to end up with a negative rational expression. And finally, when x is greater than 16, all of those polynomials will be positive, and the entire rational expression is going to be positive. Now, what we're looking for here is when is this rational expression less than or equal to 0? So that's going to happen when x is 0 or less. So in interval notation, from negative infinity up to 0, including 0, union and then it's going to be between 5 and 16, not including 5. So it's going to be from 5 to 16. And we are including 16. So actually, let me fix that quickly. Shouldn't be a regular bracket. It should be a square bracket.